Hi, welcome to Tea with Mali. We have Don Kim with us today of Don Kim Music, singer, songwriter extraordinaire. Thanks for being with us today, Don.
Thank you for having me.
So we've known each other for several years now.
Yeah.
And there have been a couple times when you've come on and been a part of our artistic showcase that we've hosted around the DC area.
I really enjoyed all those too.
Yeah, fell in love with your work the first time that you actually performed for us, and every chance we got, we wanted you to come back. So I'm so glad that you're here on Tea with Mali, so I can share you with more people.
Thank you. Well, I'm really happy to be here, and I'm glad there's actually tea in the cup. I was wondering about that, and I know there's actually tea in this cup.
There is actually tea in this cup, and there's a little bit of honey.
Whoa, you're welcome.
Now, let's talk a little bit about your inspirations around music. Okay. When did that happen for you? Were you a child? Did it happen later on in life?
Yeah, I've been playing music now for, ever since I was, I want to say 5 or 6, as a nice Korean boy. My mother forced me to play piano, and she really wanted me to be good at it, and I really didn't care for it. But what I found is that I enjoyed singing, I enjoyed performing, and every time I had a chance to do it, it became more and more of a thing. What's funny is that you find that as the older you get, the more you're able to kind of find your own voice. And it's been a lot of fun figuring out how to be a young 30-ish person, and have my own sound. And I think that is what's coming out soon.
What were some of your inspirations early on? Like, did you have a specific genre that you were kind of leaning toward, or did you try everything?
Whenever I do this in an interview, I always say something very embarrassing, but I think when I was younger, I wanted to play music to have girls try and kiss me.
That hasn't changed, or that
hasn't changed as much, but what I find is that I'm not so worried about playing lovey-dovey things, not worried about that emotion anymore. I'm ready to tackle emotional things that are more like life, and pondering different questions that aren't just like love and the loss of love and the gaining of love.
Right.
There's other things to talk about, and by love I mean romantic love. You know what I mean? There's other things out there, and I've been enjoying that as well.
How does your love for music evolve since childhood to now? Like, what were some of the steps that you took? Did you take classes? Did you get mentors?
Well, for me, it's been the ability to adjust. And that's my biggest concept. It's always I always think of it like surfing. You have to, whatever wave comes, you have to take it. And I found that it's hard to be in bands sometimes, but I wanted to play an instrument that I can carry around a lot more. And I was a guitar player at one point, and a keyboard player at one point. And then about 3-4 years ago, I picked up an ukulele, and I was like, this is a really great instrument. And I really understood it to a point where I took it more seriously, and I was able to learn from the people and really kind of harness this kind of sound that I really enjoyed. And this last 3 years has been a really fun ride. And I'm about to put out another EP for an ukulele, which I'm very excited about.
Talk about that. Let's talk about that.
Sure. It's I've recorded here in Virginia with a producer named Thomas Bernath. He has a wonderful giant beard, so I know I can trust him. Most great artists do have beards. But anyway, yeah, I was going to say, not me, but other artists. It's one of those productions where we wanted to come together. My friend Ryan Rosigliano came on the record as well. We sat down, we brainstormed these songs and put together different instruments like guitars and banjos and the ukulele, obviously, but then, really put folk Americana instruments in there as well. So it's I call it an easy to listen to in a car ride kind of album, but if you want to listen to the words, okay,
right.
Sure, come on in.
How do you find these people? How, and I want to address this because I know that we target a lot of creatives also for the show, and people who are truly entrepreneurial. How do you collaborate and find people? Is it something that just through networking happens, or is it really going out and taking the time to seek the people that we're going to mentor you or be a support to you?
That's a great question, because I think that's the key to life, right? Obviously, finding the right people to move forward with is correct. I think it's being prepared to give as much as you get is a really hard thing to do, and I think that's where the investment is. A lot of people I see who I meet are always like, what can you give me? What can you give me? And that's fine for the first couple times, but once you catch this person as someone who's just using you, it kind of goes away. I think if you become a good networker, what you're supposed to do is make sure you kind of have this reciprocal relationship. So if you're giving them a show or you're helping them with an art or collaboration, you have to make sure to give back to them as well. And I think that creates that giving of a network and actually creates camaraderie. So to answer your question, I find more people. do more stuff for people. And it's hard to do, but we do our best.
It's a combination of give and take, right? I mean, you take what you can in terms of learning and knowledge and experience, and you give as much as you can in terms of your expertise. And even me, I just recently invested in ukulele. I haven't touched it.
Where is it? We should find it.
I have it somewhere. I have it somewhere.
We'll dig it out later.
Okay. And being able to have somebody who actually prefers it,
right,
and hones it as a craft, because I met you probably now 4 years ago, because you weren't playing the ukulele when I met you.
I wasn't, right.
We did a couple of things together. We sang together, actually, so embarrassing, because I was really trying to...
Let's roll the tape of that.
No,
okay,
that's not.
Sorry.
But you were playing the guitar then. So
I was.
Just to watch you evolve as an artist has been amazing.
Oh, thank you.
And before we go into evolution and how much more you've evolved into entrepreneurship, I want to go back to the producer. How did you find that producer? Did they find you?
I think I'm another colleague of mine. Like I say colleagues, because even in the musician world, you have people you work with, obviously, right? They're not in an office building, but I think when you think of them as colleagues, it's like you're on the same goal of making everyone in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area be good in this standing. Anyway, a colleague of mine, music-wise, was like, I know someone who can play upright bass for you, and you're up in your set. And I was like, all right, let's go find him. And then I met him, and he was not just an upright bassist, but he was able to play organs, and his knowledge of music was incredible. So I was like, you know what, let's just do an EP. Let's just put together a record and make it really fun. And it's been such an awesome experience. And it's coming out, what month is it? June, I want to say? It's already May now, right?
It's May.
Okay, so it's in June. And,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, as we're talking about the record and the EP, do you want to share a song with us?
I would love to.
Let's do it.
I would love to. Let me get this out here. All right. And this is my ukulele, as you guys can see.
And you did tell me pre-show that it was custom made for you,
yeah,
right? You want to give some plugs to some people?
I can. This is a Moku ukulele made by Mike Mulquey in San Francisco, California. Awesome. He is just an amazing maker himself, and what I love about this guy is that they're not too expensive, and they're really designed for people who are coming over in the guitar world to play ukulele. It's such a hot instrument now. Everyone's like, we gotta play this instrument, but in the end, we try to get away from the strumming. We kind of go into give it some life to music. And so the song I'll play for you now is a sort of love song. It's how I see love.
Okay.
And it's called Old Leather Shoe.
Nice.
So
let's hear it.
I got love when I don't want it. It comes around to show that I'm not alone. Thought I needed money and words soaked in honey. It turns out I was wrong. Some may say that love is a moment, a gift and phrase, but I say instead that love is an old leather shoe wrapped up with me and you. It's not pretty and it don't smell great, but at the end of the day, I know I'm walking on. These souls are strong, they'll carry the weight. When I was younger, I wanted the thunder and the lightning that comes with being in love. Now that I've got it, I keep it quiet, 'cause it's all just for us. Some may say that love is a feeling, a song and dance, but I say till then that love is an old leather shoe wrapped up with me and you. It's not pretty and it don't look great, but at the end of the day, I know I'm walking home. These souls are strong, they'll carry the way. It's very emotional now. Together we'll break them in. 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 But some may say that love is the answer. We'll wait and see, but I say to them that love is an old leather shoe wrapped up with me and you. It's not pretty and it don't smell great, but at the end of the day, I know I'm walking home. These souls are strong, they'll carry the way. We may quabble and break, but we'll couple and save. Because shoes come and go, but I'll always know. These souls are strong, they'll carry the way.
Beautiful. Tell me what inspired you to write that one.
This is the coolest story I can tell. I was in Sevilla, Spain, and that's such a good name drop. I was in Spain. But I was with my now fiance, and I was thinking of, so thank you very much. And I was thinking of ways to write songs that are a little more, again, off the whole romantic love. I spent a lot of years thinking of songs that are like, lovey-dovey, and love is a rose, and love smells amazing. I kept thinking to myself, what is kind of the opposite of that? And this song is called Old Leather Shoe. And I think that love, in the end, is not a pretty romantic thing. It's a very durable, rugged thing that you rely on, and I think you go through a lot of stuff. I think it's what stuff I love, and I treasure things that are worn in, like leather, and really cared for. So that's kind of my take on it.
Well, it's a beautiful song,
well,
and I appreciate that kind of love too, because when you've lived enough life and have experiences, you realize that the things that are most important are the things that you can rely on, right?
Yeah.
The practical things are actually really romantic and beautiful.
It really is. I think there's nothing more romantic, honestly, than just being with somebody where you're totally comfortable and like not having to worry about impressing somebody. I think when you meet an artist or a creative who's younger, that pursuit is a different pursuit. And what's fun about where I am is that I think now I'm in a different level of art, where it's kind of like you're just able to do things because they're for you. You want positive art, but.
What's the creative process like for you? I mean, I know for me, even in my writing, sometimes I have writer's block, and so I really have to take some time off and go be with nature and, kind of process in different ways. So for you, how do you keep inspired? What are some of the things that you do as a practice?
It's a surfing mentality still, back to surfing. I don't surf, I've never surfed before in my life. Really want to. But what I say about surfing is that it's being ready for whatever comes your way. So if an idea comes in the middle of the night, being able to write it down, or if an idea comes when you're out somewhere, having like some kind of piece of paper or the ability to write something and move forward. We're very lucky that we live in an age where, if you have an idea, you can email a friend and be like, hey, I had this idea. Let's move it forward. Now, it's unlucky if the friend has too many ideas. You're like, listen, let's tone that back. But what I mean by that is that I think being ready for the idea is really important. But the secondary thing is I then inventory how much can I actually commit to this idea. I think what I find are ideas are really cheap, but the labor behind them is so hard. Like putting anything in motion, like this program right here, which is a beautiful production as we see here. You guys don't see it, but there are thousands of cameras around it. No, but what I mean by that is it takes so many people to make one thing work. And I think that's the best part of the creative space that you created as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I Appreciate that very much. It is a lot harder than most people think.
Yeah,
It takes
right.
time to set up and all that, but it's like everything in life. It's like everything. To me, everything is a creative process.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when people tell me they're not creative or they don't know what it's like to be in a creative space, I'm like, we live in it. I mean,
Right.
life is creative, right?
That's right.
So, where do you get a lot of your inspiration for continuing to move forward in music? Because in the art world, and I work with a lot of musicians, I also, as a creative, know that there's disappointment that comes with
Yeah.
trying to express yourself in your own unique way,
Yeah.
and getting some people who really love it,
Right.
and some people who really hate it.
Right.
So how do you handle that? Both the accolades and just the pure joy of having people say, "God, I love your music."
Right.
And then the opposite of that is you kind of suck and you have, a lot of work to do. And how do you continue to stay motivated?
Accolades are easy. If they ever come, I'm like, great. And high five. No, but I think, kidding aside, it's a really good question. I think you watch people get burned out in any capacity, and they can do the same thing over and over, and you can realize that you're doing the same things, and it's 10 years later, you're like, oh my gosh, I've done the same thing for 10 years. What I really try and work on is evolving and setting different goals. So in this album, I did an ukulele album with Americana feel, and I'm already thinking about future albums, including, like children's records and things like that. Yeah, which I'm very excited about.
That's awesome.
Yeah, don't tell anybody. It doesn't matter. I mean, all I'm saying is, like, I think you could have those ideas out there and know they're coming. I think just setting those goals for yourself keeps you moving. I think that's the same thing with anybody who's, how do you keep going through critiques and criticisms? You just tell yourself that it's not the last thing you're gonna do. I think a lot of people get caught up in, this is their opus, this is my grand project, and then I'm done with this. But in the end, it's just one thing. And I think we have to just keep putting things out there in the world, because you don't know who's gonna be out there to respond to it. Right. Some of the best comments I ever got were young children in some other place, like, oh, I wanna be just like you. And I don't, like, for me, I'm like, that's amazing. Like, go to a better college maybe than me, but make better choices. But sure.
Wow. When I think of your music and the style and just how eclectic it is, it's a hodgepodge of everything, right? It's all these different genres, and it becomes your own. And I've seen you perform, and what I love about your energy is that you really engage everybody who's there, which is important to performing, right? I mean, this is something, and one of the things I want to talk to have you share today is when you're up on stage, because it takes a lot of practice, right, to be comfortable on stage. I'm sure the first time you went up there was a little awkward. At least for me, I had stage fright the first time I tried to do something.
Oh, I still get stage fright. That's a whole different monster.
But you're so comfortable now in front of an audience, and you truly get to be yourself and make jokes. And I mean, how long does that take? And is it something that still happens, in terms of being able to get up there and be a true performer?
That's a great question. It's one of those things where I think being a performer is a type of art in itself. Not everyone will be a performer. Everyone will have a different kind of strength. I found that since I was young, I just really wanted to go up there and be very silly and do what I wanted to do and engage with people. I love being with people and kind of feeling what they're feeling in their energy. But like anything, you can learn how to harness that. I think that's just the lack of, well, I don't want to say lack of fear. Fear is a good thing, but just putting yourself out there in that capacity. And I think with criticism, back to the previous question, being ready for it and knowing that this person isn't critiquing you and then all of a sudden, your world ends. If they even said something bad about you, it's okay. It's positive growth. I think a lot of times now we live in a very transparent world. We're very afraid of being like, this person's gonna hate me and not gonna like what I do. And then you don't wanna do it. And I think a lot of, when I work with young people, I'm like, what is stopping you? And they're like, we don't know. We don't know what's stopping us.
Exactly. I think it's target market too. I think, we don't have to spend that much time wondering what our target market is if we just continue to trust that what we're doing, and especially if we love it,
That's right.
and it makes us feel good, there's a market for it. I mean, there's just billions of people in the world. There's got to be a market for this particular thing that you do and that you want to do so well. So when you find something, focus on it and then let it be your thing. Make it be so special and so unique that people will just be like, wow, that's the guy that does X, Y, and Z, and he's the only one that can do it this way. And that in itself is for you, basically to me, that's magic. That's being able to say, I don't care if the majority of the world doesn't like it, but the market of people that I know will appreciate this and love this is who I'm serving.
I look forward to that. If we can find a couple 100,000 people and they all gave $1, we'd be fine.
Exactly.
To each of us.
And this is going to be something that, over time, I think with artists, we forget that it's the community of people who truly want us and desire us that's going to make a big difference, right? That's going to make a big difference. It's the $1, the $5. That's why this whole crowdfunding and crowdsourcing has been such a brilliant thing,
right?
Because it is a specific market that wants you.
Right.
And you can't stop being you because you have to serve that market that wants you.
And this is what makes this instrument, in particular, the ukulele, so interesting, is because people bring it to concerts. People want to play it with you. It's the one instrument where I feel like no one brings guitars or pianos to people's concerts, but they bring these to you concerts. So I find that doing like tutorial videos on my YouTube page, people are just like, that's great. And that's one way to give back to them to create more content, So it's a really cool concept to be like, here is what we do, here's how I share it, here's how you can do it, and then emulate it. So I'm very excited about creating a whole series of things like that.
Now, are the tutorials up yet?
I have one tutorial up
for
a cover video. And then for the new album, I'll be creating a whole bunch of things. Like right now, not to overplug, but...
No, this is your platform. Go for it.
But as a full-time creative now, I've been looking to do more shows. I do a talk show in my car. And then I also, from there, I'm looking to do more how-to series and how to get more people creating in any capacity, whether it's music, whether it's uke music, whether it's more videos, comedy. It's just fun for me to watch people make things.
That's great. Yeah. You just led me right into my next question, which is the whole world of entrepreneurship for you.
Oh boy.
It's a big, big topic. I love talking about it. I live in it, and I love it when somebody decides to jump over and take a leap of faith and do this entrepreneurial thing. So what was that like for you when you decided, I gotta do it. I just gotta jump ship and go and do my thing. What was that experience like? What were the emotions going through your head? And when was the moment when you said, okay, it's just gotta get done?
Well, the emotion was terrified. It's always terrified. There's no other way to say it. I think it's literally you stay up at night and you do a pro-con list and you wonder to yourself, how do we get the security and really pursue it. But, I told someone the other day that it feels better to fail at your thing than to succeed at someone else's thing. And not to say it's, one is better than the other, but for me personally, it's just been having this control over my time. And the biggest thing that we talk about with people is time and how valuable it is, right? And I always want to be like, look, you can go to a job, come home and watch TV and repeat, recycle, all that kind of stuff, keep doing that. But I think the biggest thing is that, when everything ends, not to get too deep, but when everything goes, we want to be able to be like, I did a lot of cool stuff and I want to be able to share it with the other people. And that's kind of the philosophy I live with. I miss sleep, but that's overrated.
Well, it's still the early years for you, though. Over time, you get your rhythm. Trust me. You make a few mistakes. You start different pilots. I call them my pilot programs that didn't work so well.
Right?
I say it's a program, and then when it doesn't work, I say, "Oh, that was a pilot."
Right.
But I think that's important to
definitely.
try things, to dip your foot in the water and say, you know what, I don't have to leap the whole way in right now, but at least give it a chance. And I'm inspired by you because it's really profound to see someone who has this much passion since they were a child to finally pursue it, truly 100% pursue it. And it's rare.
Yeah.
And because we're so built around fear and based on what everybody else has told us, be safe, go to school, get this and this, which is great. It is good to have something to fall back on. I'm not discrediting that at all.
Right.
But at the same time, if you allow only the whispers in the head of safety and security and you basically push away your passions and not show your gifts and talents, then are you going to ever feel like you've lived a fulfilled life? And that's the big question.
That's right.
How do you have the sense of, I'm doing this for me, of course, it's something that makes me happy, but a fulfilled life also means being able to give what you have to give to other people.
Whew. That's a lot too. It's a process. I'm like writing notes down myself. I'm like, that's a lot of good stuff. But you're right.
When you do this, when you go out and you decided that you were going to become a business owner and you were going to go out and create content or video production, and now you're doing your own album, but you collaborate a lot to help other artists. Do you feel a sense of responsibility, or is it really a business for you? Is it both? It's a community and business, pro bono plus profit? What is it like?
No, that's a great question. I won't lie. I'll say once in a while you take clients because you're like, well, I could probably eat this month, so I'll take this client. And I love all my clients. But what I will say is that there are times in your life where when you're your own guy and your stamp, guy or girl, and your own stamp and brand is on something, I think you have to give a piece of yourself to everything that you do. This really represents who you are. So every video that I make, every website that I produce, it always has something where I'm saying, this is my experience, this is how I feel we should get things done, and I really stand behind it because I would do it myself. I think the biggest thing you always tell yourself is that if you wouldn't do it for yourself and you wouldn't put that out for your own brand or company, then don't do it for anybody else, because that's just going to be dumb. But it's been a lot. You find that those passionate projects, and when you care about something, it's a lot more stress, but it's a good stress. It's the good kind of stress where you know that when you get through it, it's that accomplished feeling and not just I survived the day kind of feeling. And those are really good feelings to have.
They are great feelings.
Oh man. Whew. This is a great question. I think they can overlap. I think what a good performer does, and what people don't see, is that it's like an iceberg concept, right? Both performers and entrepreneurs show people about the tip of everything else. But what we need to do in both fields is to constantly prepare and get yourself ready and then keep stabilizing that outside look. So as a performer, you rehearse, you write, you practice even the dialogue you say in front of a crowd. Even though it seems like it's natural, like a stand-up comic, it sounds colloquial, you're saying things that you rehearsed over and over again. An entrepreneur, the same concept, you might have given the same pitch over and over again, but each time you give that pitch with the points, you believe it, but you're still making sure you've prepared it the same way. So with your product, the same thing. You've spent years and years honing your skill to make sure that one thing you show, that 5-minute pitch, is the thing you have. All of that. But the difference is one of them has to do accounting. And the other one does not do math.
Right.
So that's the hardest part for me as an entrepreneur, QuickBooks.
Yes. And being able to seek help. Being able to, as an entrepreneur, one thing that I learned very early on is, you have to get help. You have to have support. This production is much better and stronger because I have staff, I have a director, I have a tech assistant.
Right.
All of that has to come into play to make this pretty solid, right? If I try to do this myself, imagine me here hosting, going there with the lights and sounds. It would just be a mess.
That's right.
And that's a great analogy to any type of, especially startup businesses, and especially creative businesses. Especially creative businesses.
Exactly right. I always find myself in a mode where if I have a question, I'm immediately calling someone, being like, hey, what do you think about that? And there was a great article that came out about how much advice do you ask for, how much advice do you give? But in the end, what you tell yourself is, if I'm getting all this free advice from somebody, I'm going to be able to pass along the same advice as someone else coming up. And it's always looking for that whole mentor relationship. Just like, the Jedis from Star Wars. You're welcome.
You always are leading me into another question, mentorship. Mm-hmm. How important is that to you as a business owner now?
I would say that nothing is more important than finding successful models or things that have worked. Do you know what I mean? I think when you're young, you're always like, I have this great idea. No matter what it is, I'm going to force this idea to work. The round hole, square peg, and I'm going to just make it work. But the not reinventing the wheel is such a great concept to really have as a mantra. Whatever you've done, someone has done it in some way. You might make it better or more efficient, but someone has done that. So finding that avenue has been like the pursuit that I've always had to be.
How have you mentored others?
People always ask little questions like, how do you make that video? How do you make this look? Or how do you make the website like that way? And I really try and not be too like, oh, I'm tired or not too much time. I try and really make the effort to be like, this is something that we want to give. Again, back to the whole thing. One day, as a community, we have to share as much as we can. And there's always a debate that you see about how much do you share versus how much do you pay and how much do you get paid for it. But in some capacity, you just have to kind of give that up and just say like, I'm here for this and I get paid for other things. And that's kind of where we separate our lives in that situation.
Yeah, and for creative concepts too, I think it's very hard to put a dollar on creative concepts. You know, I mean, starting off from a clean slate when you have, especially when clients are coming to hire you for something, and they're basically asking you to start from scratch, you know, a clean slate, that is difficult to be able to say, well, it's going to cost this and this and this, and to be able to have somebody value your creative content as valuable. Do you find that to be the case as well?
That's something that I actually always seek mentorship about. I find as a creative now, one of the first things you want to do is figure out how to monetize your time. Like I think if someone asked me what would I do better than I did last time starting a business, it's figuring out how I monetize time. Not because I want to make a ton of money, but really what it is that if you're going to do a video for someone that takes you 90 hours and you're like, $100, you know what I mean? You're completely up the paddle, you know, up the creek without a paddle, I mean. You're just completely in trouble. But what I try to tell people is be honest with yourself, be honest with how you work, and then from there you create enough to sustain and keep growing. But again, that stuff is always like, you look for the successful people.
To help you out.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your demographic, your target market when it comes to your music, and then how does that differ or similar in the world of your business in terms of who you're targeting. So let's talk about your music first. Who do you sing to? Who do you love to perform in front of, and who when you're coming up with venues that you want to present to, do you have a demographic in mind that you wish to serve?
I do. I think, like I mentioned before, I like to be a musician that's transparent. You know, I think people who are wanting to be part of music, but also want to talk about music, especially with this instrument, the ukulele, if they want to play it with me, come on in. You know, that's kind of thing. I think it's a really important demographic part of. I find that, you know, like I said before, I'm no longer a 20-something love lust kind of guy, so I might be out of that demographic of the top 40 hits, which is okay. I think when we venture into this other world now of people going into softer music and coffee house type environments and listening room type environments, I'm okay with that. You know, I find I share bills with comedians and poets and spoken word artists because we make sense to do more of a collaborative storytelling show than it is to just go in there and rock out for 90 minutes. Love them both, love type of music, but it's just not what I do. And then, like I said before, a natural transition into acoustic and kids music, whatever comes my way. We'll see.
That's great. Now let's go to your business side, because I like to go back and forth because it really is where you are. I mean, you're playing both roles right now. You're the performer, artist, and you're this business owner who's making it happen.
But I don't make a hard transition in that too. I feel the same thing. I look for people who are self-starters. I don't like doing client jobs where it's like, I'll do this for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? I want to do the teach and the fish capacity. We're doing websites, social media. This is how we start it. This is how you use it. And then if you're ready to build it, build it. Let's talk about how we grow. You know, we use lots of very friendly content management systems that are able to be very customizable by the clients. And I'm a big fan of that for websites. For videos, same idea. If you're someone who wants to do a ton of videos, then I'm like, let's get you a camera. We'll teach you how to hold a microphone, how to sync things in post, and not use anything more complicated than like an iMovie or a Windows Movie Maker. But if that's who you are and that's who you want to be, let's just get you trained and moving and be content creators. I like clients who are able to create on their own, because then they are able to also then say we're part of a community as they create more and more creators, and that's kind of where we stand. So kind of similar concepts. Yeah.
Tell the audience specifically what you do on the business side, so that in terms of service offerings, so that people can find you and understand what it is that you do.
Well, the website is donkim.me, which will be launching a full full new site in June. The services that I created are kind of websites, videos. I always say the underlying theme is storytelling. The biggest thing is making sure that people feel like we have a message to tell and we get it out there in some capacity. Nonprofits especially, but I work with other musicians, businesses, campaigns, and people are like, well, we want to do something, put it out there, but we don't have this like massive budget or massive idea. And I'm like, let's create some sustainability in your group. I like to do handbooks and make sure people are very comfortable with how we would do it and how we'd approach it and move forward and really cater to that growing nature of every business in that situation. So that's one way of making money as well.
That's great. Why do you do what you do? What motivates you to continue being the creative person that you are and doing the work that you do? I mean, what is it all for?
Well, let's not get too in the future, but like stuff like this, being here with you now, I mean, it's great to meet other people and share experience with other people and just kind of get energized in these moments. I think that's what we kind of do it for the now, for the short term. And like we said earlier, the long term, I'm really proud of things that we did. You know, I think you have certain jobs where you do what you do in the constructs and then you get a fancy watch at the end. But I think that's okay for some people. But for me in particular, I think I wanted to do a little more, take some responsibility for my time.
Well, I would like to have another song.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind playing us something else.
I would love to. And this is off the new record as well. And this is a co-write song with my friend Ryan Rosigliano. We call him Tup affectionately. And this is a song about nothing.
Okay. Let's talk about nothing.
It's about nothing. So here we go. I fell asleep outside your window. Woke up alone in New Orleans, wearing nothing but a smile, thinking I might stay a while if only I could find my can of beans. I met a girl outside of Fresno. She taught me everything I know. She took me for a ride and left me high and dry with nothing but a can of beans to show. Won't you up and up, having had enough? Baby, you're what I need, you're what I need. Won't you give me some, 'cause I need your love. Baby, you're what I need, you're what I need. Brighter days, mama said it's okay. You can speed it up or slow it down. Bring it all to the table, set for two. I'll bring a spoon, a can of beans, each all you need to get around. I went to school down by a river. I threw my books into a sea. Took that dive at 5 just to feel alive with nothing but a can of beans and me. Won't you up and up, having had enough? Baby, you're what I need, you're what I need. Won't you give me some, 'cause I need your love. Baby, you're what I need, you're what I need. Brighter days, mama said it's okay. You can speed it up or slow it down. Bring it all to the table, set for two. I'll bring a spoon, a can of beans, it's all you need to get around. Get yourself a woman, get yourself a dog, get yourself that fancy high-paying city-going little job, and all you think you do is right, and all you really do is wrong, till you find out what it is you need. Won't you up and up, having had enough? Feel what I Won't you give me some, 'cause I need your love. Baby, you're what I need, you're what I need. I fell asleep outside your window. Woke up alone in New Orleans, wearing nothing but a smile, thinking I might stay a while if only I could find my can of beans. If only I could find my can of beans. If only I could find my can of beans. It's a slow, dramatic ending. If only I could find my can of beans.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Your music is very, in terms of lyrics, very humorous, very profound sometimes. I just love it. I love the diversity of it all. You know, there's
I've
some
never been
deep
called
stuff
profound with lyrics, so that's very, I'm very thankful for that.
Well, they are. So when you sit down and you write music, and I'm really curious about this because, you know, as a lyricist, it's a process, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not a true musician because I don't play instruments.
Oh, no,
and
you
that's
are.
That's the next step,
No,
right?
you're on there.
When you have to do both, can you talk to me about that? Like, do you choose the music over the lyrics first? What happens? Does the lyric come first and the music inspires, or just depends?
I'm gonna give you a full confession. I always say I'm a very, very weak lyricist. And
Really?
why I say that is because I think it's one of those points where I intentionally tell myself to work on it. You know, I always am very hard on myself because I feel like it's one of the hardest things to do. It's one of the hardest things to be more and more real with somebody. And I think when you talk about art, the older you get or the more mature you get, the more you're able to put kind of like a real spin on songs that aren't sort of the sucralose, the artificial flavoring of stuff. So being a lyricist, the thing is like, being a better lyricist is an evolution of being like, let's get more and more real stuff down that isn't just fluff or there to rhyme.
Wow.
That's hard.
Well, I appreciate that because I was thinking being a lyricist is easy. All that other stuff is hard.
No, I'm on
great
your. That's the thing. It's always grass is greener. I think, like I talked about before, the skills that we have are the skills that we've been blessed and given
Yeah.
with. But to answer the question too, I reach out to people. I say, hey, let's talk about why you're a lyricist, and having discussions like this help you open up lyrical channels. And like you, I'm sure with you, writing and lyrics come from some connection up here and
yeah.
some cosmic connection up there.
I don't know how I do it. I mean, literally, if you send me a musical piece, I can come up with the lyrics. So to me, it's like, oh, anybody can do that.
Right.
And then I sit there and try and figure out how to play guitar, and I'm like, this is so hard. I want to give up, you know? So I think you're right. It's just grass is always greener. But
Right.
that's the beauty of collaboration.
That's
It's
right.
the beauty of you having your gifts and I have mine. And then when we come together and say, what do you have to offer? What I have to offer? Oh, we can make something quite special.
That's right.
That's the beauty of, I think, especially the creative community. I see that more in the creative community than I see in the business world.
Yeah.
And I would love to kind of see it happen everywhere. So,
I completely agree. Over tea as well.
over tea as well, with a little bit of honey.
Right.
And so I want to ask you to share with our viewers any sound advice when it comes to being the creative person who is truly stretching their limits and now maybe wondering, maybe on the fence, like, can I actually make a living doing what I love? Can I? It's paralyzing. I've been there, to sit there sometimes for years and wonder if it's going to be worth it. What will you say to them? What can you say to them?
Well, it is quite paralyzing. I can't even afford to have full pants on, so I'm wearing shorts today. But honestly, when you talk about being a creative person, I think you have to do it. And I think when someone, I always ask the advice, and the majority of advice always came to being like, if you want to do something, do it. And it sounds stupid, but a lot of people are just brilliant at ideas and brilliant at home, and they have these great concepts, but they're literally on their couch or in front of their screen not doing anything with it. And it's sort of a shame because being the entrepreneur, being the creative requires this just full energy, gumption, and just going for it, taking that leap. But the other part of that, I think, is when you take the leap, get ready to get beat up. That sounds stupid, but it sounds bad, but you ask anybody else, I think when you're taking that leap, you just gotta put some armor on and say, it's going to be difficult. And I think daily I almost think about this like, well, maybe I should try something else. But I think it's just that re-energizing, which is really important. I mean, it'd be unrealistic to say like, hey, it's going to be great. You'll be fine. That's very unrealistic.
Yeah.
You know?
And would it be true to say that know what you're really good at as well?
Yeah.
Really understand, like, if your gift is marketing,
Right.
to me that's half the battle, right? But if your gift is not marketing, like if you don't know how to communicate and articulate what it is that your specialty is, or the area or genre that you want to focus on, especially with creatives and artists here, musicians, you have to look for ways, whether it's tools, going on the internet and researching what are some of the maybe free sites that can help you build your website, get a presence, look to see what type of social media platforms are truly free. Things like, for me, I used to use and still use Hootsuite, like being able to take all of my social media into one place. I mean, it takes research time. So one of the things is, before you do launch, make sure that you have, even if it's not a robust business plan, at least put your plan in place, whether it's a 2-pager or a 3-pager with just some bullet points of things that you have to consider, so that when you're ready to launch, you're a little bit more prepared than just, here I am, world.
That's right.
And then not being able to know, who am I targeting? Who's going to be interested in what I have to offer? What problem am I solving? Who am I talking to? And if I'm talking to this particular market, age, income, whatever, where are they?
Yeah.
Where are they for us to put ourselves there?
That leads to the point too, that it's also, being a creative is not just like, oh, I work an hour a day and pop ideas get out. Like you're saying, if you are going full time with this, it's got to be the same discipline as a working day. You wake up, you go to work, and going to work is mentally flipping over. Whether you're in your pajamas at home, you still flip over this concept where you're sending emails out now, you're in this work mode. And that's the hardest part too, is creating that structure, like getting away from that idea that you're not going to an office and punching a clock in. You're always working. Right. This is your life, and accounting can take place at any time. Clients come at any time, and that's sort of this whole new phase of my life that I'm learning as well, which is a lot of fun, but fun with like a question mark.
Right. Yeah, no, it's a daily thing. It's a daily grind, right? It's being able to but keeping in mind why you did it in the first place. Keeping in mind that your heart is leading you here. And usually when your heart leads you and your gut tells you to stick with it, there's going to be some greatness that comes out of it. It just takes time. And the struggles, I believe, the challenges in the early years are just allowing you to gain lessons and tougher skin, and what I like to consider, and most people in the business world now call it failing forward, right? It's like you've got to fail forward so you can continue to move down this path of lessons learned. How are you ever going to mentor anyone if you don't have anything to mentor them on, if you've never had any past mistakes or previous experiences to tap into? So think of that, I think, for creatives that are out there really interested in launching or already just launched it, and now they're kind of like, oh my God, what did I do? That this is all a part of the process of growth.
I feel like being an entrepreneur is one big support group. We're all just sitting around being like, "Ugh, that sucks." But
it's so important to have that.
But it's great because you get the energy back to realize that you're not alone, and that's the other thing too. I think that you tell someone young, you're not alone,
right?
And just do it, and you'll find people to support you through it.
I love that. Thank you for saying that. Now, how can people find you? Can you tell us how all the different places that they can find you?
Oh boy, okay. Well, for me, the easiest way to probably go to Twitter at Don Kim Says, at Don Kim Says. You can find videos at youtube.com/Don Kim Music, and then it's all on my website at donkimmusic.com. For creative services and other stuff like that, donkim.me. I've said Don Kim way too many times.
That's your name, though.
That's kind of the branding
brand.
issue. I guess it's my name and go to the brand. But anyway, I'm always accessible. I love the fact that social media is a reach out and touch platform. I've had people from all over the world kind of say something nice or ask a question, and being able to answer that is like the greatest feeling in the entire world. And I can't imagine doing our business 30, 40 years ago. That'd be just a lot of typewritering.
Can you do us one more favor? Can you kind of lead us at the end of the show now? Can you lead us out with a song?
I can, yeah. Let's see. Let's see if I have one here. This is, yeah.
And as we lead you out of the show, I want to say thank you for joining us. This is Don Kim. He's going to sing us along here. And I want to thank you again for joining us. And I'll see you next time on Tea with Mali.
Thanks, guys. been a long time since I felt like you and me were destined to be together for